Hello, Stanley.
Hello again, Mickey. Hi. Hi.
How are you?
I'm quite well. And we are going to do a topic that we were skirting around and finally going to do it today. And the topic is politics, very much in the news these days. I didn't trust myself, so I looked in the dictionary and I'm going to tell you what I saw. Politics, it says, is the science and art of government. Politician is a person holding an elected government post. And then there's the offshoot, which I find interesting, and it's so different from the rest. Politic is an adjective, and the dictionary says showing good judgment. Yeah, I think I remember, and I may be wrong, somebody would do something and it was said he was very politic, meaning he was courteous, he was smart.
Yeah.
It worked out. It worked very well with what he did.
Yeah. I have a friend from college who I always called a politician because he would always withhold his full opinion about things. He was very politician-y in the way that he would act about things. You'd ask him what he thought about somebody's performance. We were in acting school, so what'd you think about their performance? And he would always refrain from giving any opinion that could be misconstrued as being rude or disrespectful or upset anyone. He would always say the perfect thing that would make anyone feel okay about it.
As if he was running for office.
Yeah, which he works in politics now, so it makes sense. But
sure enough.
Yeah, he was always a very politician-y kind of vibe of a guy, and still is.
Do you know what he does today?
I don't know exactly what he does. I know he's Polish. I think he's a dual citizen of Poland and here, and he works heavily in politics with Poland. And he's always at the Polish embassy, I guess it is here, and he's always dealing with stuff like that. And he was working for some local campaigns for mayoral elections and stuff like that here. So I don't know exactly what he does now.
I think it's unfortunate that the word politician has come to have rather a nasty sound to it.
Yeah.
In all the years that I was teaching, I thought about this yesterday. In all the years that I was teaching, I can't remember ever one person, boy or girl, who said they wanted to go into politics. No. I mean, I think some probably have. I know one fellow works for NYCHA, the housing administration of the city of New York. But no, it's not the kind of profession that you sound like you want to do, because it just has a bad sound to it, which is unfortunate.
I think a lot of people now, given the sort of turbulence of today's politics, so many young people are interested in politics now, way more than they ever have been in the past.
I hope that's true. I think it should be. Don't you think so?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think that politician still has such a nasty connotation to it today.
It does.
Yeah, people really think that.
But doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to, but I don't think it's on us. I think it's on the politicians to change the way that we see it as a community. Yeah. Because every politician that works in politics is a liar or a swindler, or they make promises they know they can't keep, or they team up with lobbyists so they can get positions and then hold them for way longer than they should. They're abusing their power. They're insider trading on the stock markets. They're passing laws that directly affect the stock markets, and then buying and selling based on laws that they know they're going to pass. It's a weird world. It's very corrupt, and I think the dawn of social media and the internet certainly the dawn of the internet, but more specifically social media, and even more specifically TikTok, has made it, I think, very clear to a young generation how corrupt our political system is, because they can't hide things anymore. You know?
What you can fill me in on that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, for example, when JFK was killed, there was always conspiracies as to whether or not that was something that our own government was involved in doing, that the
Yes.
CIA was involved in. But there was really no way to be sure, because all of the documentation was top secret. It was redacted. It was held. It wasn't released to the public. See you tomorrow, or I won't see you tomorrow. But yeah, it was held from the public for years and years and years. Only now some of them are coming out, and so it's really easy, or it was really easy in the 50s and 60s, and certainly before that, all the way to like the medieval times, for any groups in power to hide anything that they did that was below the belt from the public. But now that there are so many independent journalists and so many attuned ears to what's going on in our global and domestic politics, they can't really get away with things anymore. They can't hide things. I mean, even you look at the war in Ukraine. When that started, it was the first war in history that you could watch, anyone could watch in real time on social media. Yeah. Soldiers themselves were posting videos on TikTok and on Instagram of the atrocities that were happening, and it's happening in Gaza now, that where journalists and civilians and soldiers are posting themselves videos of what's going on. So the government can't hide the information, and they can't control what the public sees, because we can see everything. And they can't keep up with it because it's instantaneous. So now they don't have a control, like a chokehold on what information we get to know about, so, which is good. They're going to be held to a higher standard because they can't get away with anything. But it's also scary because you see a lot of messed up stuff that they probably have been doing all along, and we just didn't know about it.
Yes.
But yeah, politics.
There's a lot of new stuff in the world, and some of it is good, and some of it maybe a little less so. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it when you were young? Like, the
view. I was a politician.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You said last week you were the president of
high school and college. That's I was lucky to get good grades because I didn't work very hard. I mean, no, I didn't. Truthfully. I worked hard enough, but I also was, I don't know, I was very engaged in the idea of politics, I guess is the right word, school politics.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was, we took ourselves very seriously. Oh yeah, I mean, gosh. Did you ever do anything like that?
One of my, I won't say it's a regret, but one of the things that I do to some degree wish I did differently when I was in high school is take more seriously school government and Model UN. We had Model UN in school, and
yeah, those are
the
great.
Debate teams. I always wish I had done those things, but it seemed to require a lot of work, a lot of time, and I was doing shows and I was on sports teams, and I didn't want to do that stuff. I thought it was silly to like run for president of the school or like be in charge of what kind of snacks are in the vending machine and things like that, which I now realize the amount of sort of community work that you were doing and giving to the school by working in school politics. I wish I had done it more, because I was never interested in. I remember in 8th grade specifically, my teacher, Mrs. Bealey, who's no longer with us, but she one time had everyone in the class go around and say who they would vote for if they could vote. It was 2008, so that was who was it? Obama and Al Gore, maybe? No, John McCain. Obama versus John McCain, I think, or something like that, in 2008. And she asked everyone who they would vote for if we were old enough to vote. And it got to me, and I said, I'm not interested in politics. I really don't care, and I got detention for saying that. Yeah, is that right,
Oh,
Obama?
you were a rebel.
Yeah, Obama, John McCain, right? Is that what that was?
I don't remember.
If
who
I'm
it
wrong,
was
I'm sorry,
that
everybody.
year.
I was 12.
Well, and I
But
was older, but appointing those people to years is always tough for me.
yeah, well, you've been through a few.
Yeah,
Can you name? Can you like list the presidents that you have been alive for? Like, who was president when you were born?
FDR.
FDR.
In fact,
Wow.
FDR, his first election as president was exactly when I was born,
Whoa,
1932. Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, very first.
Do you have a favorite president that you have been alive for?
I love John Kennedy. He was. Everybody did. Well, not everybody, but
Certainly, some people didn't.
that's right. He was young, handsome, smart, debonair,
Yeah.
married to a beautiful woman. And it's interesting, as one knows a little bit more about him, he suffered physically a lot.
Hmm.
He had chronic back problems.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he had a special chair and so on. Of course, he was kind of a man about town. He slept around, and apparently Jackie knew that before she ever got married.
Hmm.
But, well, in in a lot of governments, that's so commonplace.
Yeah, I mean, I think now, if you look at the scandal of Bill Clinton or something, with Monica Lewinsky, it was such a big deal then, and comparatively to the things going on with our politicians today and our presidents today, like that would be so insignificant.
Yeah.
But the moral sort of barometer has shifted from then till now. What matters to the people about the moral qualities of our leaders. And there is, to some extent, there's like, I don't really care what you do behind closed doors as a person with your partner, as long as you lead the country in a good way. Like, I don't really care.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Are you having any feelings about the elections this year?
Oh yeah, lots of them.
Tell me what you think.
Well, I am very disappointed with the DNC and their sort of willingness to completely shaft us of an opportunity for democracy in any way. Like, I'm so upset that Biden or Biden's team made it so there were no debates during the primary elections. That's it. For the primary elections, I think it was so frustrating that he didn't have to debate anybody. There were so many candidates
Right.
that were really willing, ready, and excited to like step in as an alternative to Biden.
Yeah.
And they shut it all down, and they made it so Biden was the only option, which nobody really seemed to want anymore. And then obviously on the right, Trump is still like basically in charge of the GOP, and in some weird way, he's kind of in charge of the right still.
He seems to be. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like we're just doing it again. The same thing that we did 4 years ago, we're doing it again, and nobody wants it. Nobody likes either of them. And so, I mean, for me, I don't know who I'm going to vote for, but it won't be either of them. It's probably going to be RFK.
Well, that would certainly not be my choice. No. Much as I like the Kennedys, or a lot of them at least. I think that at least what's happening today has awakened a lot of people who were not very awake before, in terms of our government politics, if you will, if that's the synonym in a way, Yeah, people care now.
Yeah. Well, they were scared. They were scared out of their pants when Trump was first when he was first running, and then he won, and then he was president. And say what you will about what you think about Donald Trump, but the end of the world didn't happen like everyone thought it was going to. And so 4 years later, everything was kind of still okay in the country, and then Biden won, and then everything's kind of gone to shit internationally, obviously. And so I think it's really changed the landscape because everyone is kind of realizing now that like it, it the worst that everyone thought was going to happen didn't happen, but it became clear that like even a rogue agent like Donald Trump, who wasn't a politician, who was a businessman, who was outside the system, who then became president, still got roped into uh, the same structure that every president kind of has to work in, and he kind of got stuck in the. So he had to do all the same things that every other president has to. He couldn't do any of the things that he said he was going to do, good or bad. He just didn't do them. He wanted to pull out of the Middle East, and then he couldn't, and he didn't, and then Biden did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's become clear to everybody that the president isn't quite as powerful as everyone thinks. There's people behind pulling the strings, and it doesn't really matter who's in the throne.
Could you imagine turning the clock back, let's say 10 years, that you would like to enter into government in some job? And if so, what job would it be?
Yeah, I think I'd be interested in it, but it would probably be local government.
But that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
and I think I still, in some next life, I still probably could, in my 50s, run for local government, help my town do what it's doing. But it just becomes so clear that local government is so much more important. I think it's becoming clear to everyone in my demographic and younger that local government is so much more important than people think. Because when COVID happened, you think that the president says something and then that's what it's going to be, but every state had different laws about how to handle COVID. From Florida to California, like things were so different.
Yeah.
Businesses being closed down in California and nothing being closed down in Texas, and it just becomes so clear all of a sudden that the governor is so much more important than you think when stuff like that happens. Obviously with abortion and stuff now too, it's so clear. But yeah, so local government's something I would absolutely be interested in doing.
They say all politics ultimately is local.
Yeah, true. I do think though that the kinds of people who gravitate toward politics as a career tend to be very narcissistic people. Anyone who thinks, I could be the president, tends to think that they're all that. They think that they are good enough for the job of running the entire world. I think that in itself is like a kind of a misstep in how we choose our presidents, how we choose our leaders.
Well, narcissistic maybe, ambitious at least.
Certainly,
and
ambitious.
we talked about ambition, you and I, a few episodes back.
Yeah.
It's a two-sided coin. To be good, could be less good.
Yeah, I think it's been less good overall when it comes to the political landscape. I just everyone who works in politics, man, like everyone who is on in the big leagues, they all seem like really self-absorbed people who just want what's best for them, and they don't care about what's good for the people. At least it seems that way. Based on the fact that we're all suffering the decisions that are made by them, and then they don't have to suffer it at all. But I don't know. I think right now the thing that's so crazy is the clear factions that are being built over like ideological gaps and people hating each other in the country. So much in hate.
It's very pronounced and it's very sad.
Yeah, it's scary.
The people who don't want to talk, even talk with somebody on the other side,
Yeah,
which is the possible way of breaching that gap.
yeah.
They don't want to even get into it.
No, 'cause if you
That's
don't
very
agree,
sad.
yeah, if you don't agree, you're the enemy. You know, it's a crazy
Yeah.
it's a crazy belief for people to have that their ideas are so, they think they're so right that anyone who disagrees is
Anybody
terrible.
in government that you like, that you respect, or maybe in the past?
I respected Obama a lot. I I don't particularly respect the way he's navigated his post-presidential career, but I respected him as a leader. I think that he had all of the qualities a leader is supposed to have.
Yes.
I mean, again, you know, his policies maybe I didn't like all of them, but as a man that you want to turn on the TV and see lead the country, the way he spoke, the way he conducted himself, I really respected that. I think that there's no one like that in politics right now, and it's sad.
I think Mayor Pete Buttigieg,
Pete Buttigieg.
comes very close to that.
That's interesting. I really don't like him.
Really,
Yeah, I think he's terrible at his job.
really. Well,
Yeah.
he's been given a job that I suspect he didn't really want.
I'm sure he's what, Secretary of Transportation now?
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
transportation secretary, which presumably is a stepping stone onto bigger things.
Yeah.
You know, he went from being the mayor of a little town
Yeah.
to something national.
Yeah.
He has a prestigious job, although I don't think it's really the job that he would ideally want.
Yeah. I don't
But
think
it
he's
put-
doing a good job at
Well,
it.
but I think it's an awful job to have. I mean, golly, you know, where is it that doesn't need help? Where is it that doesn't need improvement?
Yeah,
Everywhere.
it's true.
I suspect that the next time around he will be asked to run for something bigger. Who knows? I like him a lot.
Yeah.
But I like him, I must confess, partly because he's gay.
Yeah, well, it's important, you know, to have that kind of representation in government.
Yeah,
but I
mean,
think it's secondary to.
he's absolutely open about it. He has a marriage with his boyfriend.
Yeah.
They have adopted a couple of kids now. He openly talks about my husband. Whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Different world than it was
it's
50 years
it's
ago. right?
wonderful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's cool.
And he is a national figure representing, in a sense, a gay community, a community that is gay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just wish he was better at his job. I just don't like him that much. But you know, I respect that aspect about him.
You
but
know, he's an extremely smart man.
certainly.
He speaks in full sentences. There's a beginning and a middle and an end.
Yeah. It's more you can say for Biden right now. But
Well, Biden is not a good speaker. No.
no, he's not.
No,
No, he's not.
it rankles me that somewhere along the way, in all these years that he's been in government, that nobody said, listen, we'd like to coach you a little bit on public speaking.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people who do that kind of coaching. Be happy to introduce you.
Did you see that he agreed to debate Trump?
No, really.
I think today or yesterday he agreed to debate Trump. 2 debates.
Oh, good.
So it's coming up, which I hope, you know, they're going to be telling one way or another. They're going to be very telling. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
Well, that has to be soon because the election is
November.
about 5 months off.
Yeah. I think they'll be very soon. I'm excited to watch them for sure. I'm going to clear my schedule that day.
Oh yes,
and
me
watch.
too. Me too.
We're coming up on 30. So I'm reciting a piece that I wrote tomorrow night at
Please do.
at a poetry thing, and it's about politics. So I thought it might be fun to read it if you're interested in hearing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah? All right. I don't have it memorized,
Take it out.
but I have it. It's called Agents of Something. And it basically represents, you asked me before how I feel about today's, like, political circumstances. This is basically how I feel about it. But it goes like this. It's called Agents of Something. He's an eager believer of dependable leaders, a feature omitted from political theater by hypocritical preachers. He's consumed by their doctrine, content for his steps to be locked in, digging up ideals from foundations that are rotten. Too often he breathes in these toxins that found him. Parroting the words that echo around him, they drown him, and he embraces it, convinced that he's doing the work of a patriot. He marches to the beatings of those who are dissident. He's a militant instrument, a willing participant to the mental imprisonment of American citizens. He's a dutiful friend, but a bull-headed thinker who won't waver or bend to see anything outside his ethical lens, so sure the alternative is always a trend. And I admire his passion each time he defends his backward position, but there's more to conviction than upholding tradition. Like ensuring your thoughts are your own. He's an agent of something I just don't condone, bulldozing nuance from his monochrome throne, but as I search for ideals that align with my own, I find all the same problems have been flawlessly cloned on the left. She's a young girl, eager to find her place in a harsh world, be a Sherpa to change as it unfurls. A symptom of her age, her toes curl to anchor her emboldened feet. She needs to stand up for what she thinks she believes, or at least to repeat the things that she's been told. Rote recitation of rhetoric she's been sold. She takes hold of old ideas and screams at the top of her lungs. She thinks she's the one to break links, see through the hijinks, and change things. But her voice doesn't cut it. Too weak and much too deep beneath the ones above it, now one of the masses, she heads into battle. A convergence of classes, or a sparring of cattle, to her it won't matter. She saddles her high horse and charges the ladder, ripping off rungs and watching them shatter on the ground below her, certain this thinking will never outgrow her. She's an agent of something I can't put a pin in, a girl turned woman by the might of her mission, wastes no time on the opposition, repurposing hate for her own ammunition, a homemade rudder on human condition, steering our country toward her definition of what kind of world we're all supposed to live in. And I have to admit I admire it. The vacuum she's built round her mind is inspiring. All cylinders firing, except for the ones I feel I'm requiring. A consolidation of focus. Some discernible locus, not just Xeroxed agendas solely meant to provoke us. Who are you to tell me who I am? Why must I agree with you to be a good man? Your message seems not to be clear. I know that I love every one of my peers. Our color doesn't dictate our right to be here, that's obvious. But stop attempting to claim ideals for all of us. To converse in this way where thoughts can't be discussed, where you leave every outside voice to rust in a raining down of fearful attrition. Some forced conformity to every petition because movements are joined on one's own volition, and mine has collided with an ethical schism. I want to be more than a political puppet, to live in a system that can't be corrupted, where moral certitude will not trump discussion, where critical thinkers don't face repercussions for thinking critically about your ideology, where you and I can disagree healthily and still be part of one community. America's more than a nationality, it's a mentality. It's embracing diversity to create commonality, and that includes diversity of thought. We're all just collections of things we've been taught, a piling of opinions on top of opinions, like rain on a windshield obstructing our vision. We're fallible. And that's not a weakness, it's invaluable. It's humility. Our willingness to learn is our greatest utility, and we need to choose to use that ability to listen to each other. Because the strength of our words are weakened by our deafness, we'll have nothing to say if we can't hear one another. And what will there be then? A fragmented country where women and men are content to bathe in their misplaced anger. Factions of self-segregated citizens all getting off on the asymmetric resonance of their echo chambers. I don't want to live in a world like that, where your empathy depends so heavily on whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat. That's not my identity, I'm more than that. I'm a child who grew up and discovered he was wrong about most of the things that he thought, only ever rehearsing the lines I was learning from the narrative I had been taught. I'd turn myself into a mascot for the closed-minded, one-sided, misguided onslaught that's being promoted as progress. And I refuse to be a part of that process, so no, I am not on your team, and I'm not the opposition. I'm just an American man using his mind and his heart and some facts to form his own opinions.
That's powerful. Good.
Thanks.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. You're going to use that? Where did you say?
I'm reciting it tomorrow night at a poetry slam
Right.
event
Good.
thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of, I wrote that in 2020. Shortly, I suppose, it was either shortly before or after Biden beat Trump. I suppose it would have been before, because Biden officially became president in 2021, right? Like January or something.
Yeah.
So I think I wrote it during the election period in 2020, and I thought it was really, really pertinent and really important at the time because everything was so combative, you know, the right and the left. And I really wanted to put it out like right away, but I didn't. And here we are 4 years later, and it's still just as relevant.
Yeah.
It's kind of
absolutely
kind of weird how nothing's changed.
Absolutely. You're
Yeah.
right. Good.
Final thoughts on politics?
I think you've said more than anything I would say. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, we'll save the world one day. Once I work for local government. You too. You'll be president, yeah?
Maybe.
Yeah. 2028.
Maybe so.
All right. See ya, everybody.
Bye now.